You've seen it, right? Scrolling through your feed, and there's someone looking absolutely shocked, dunking themselves into a tub of ice water. It's the wellness trend that is everywhere. But is it a real deal health hack or is it all just for show? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise and find out what's actually happening to your body during a cold plunge. Let's dive in. I mean, you hear the claims from everyone, pro athletes, wellness gurus, you name it. They talk about recovering like a superhero, having this incredible mental focus, and just feeling amazing. It really sounds like a magic fix for, well, pretty much everything. But, when something sounds that good, you just have to ask, is it too good to be true? And that's where the science comes in. We're going to really dig into the research and see if what's happening physiologically matches all the hype. This is where we separate the cold, hard facts from the hot takes. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of the science, let's take a quick look back. Because this new trend, well, it's not so new after all. It's actually ancient. Yeah, way back in ancient Greece, they were all about using cold water to build strength and vitality. And that idea, it never really went away. It was passed down for centuries. Now, fast forward to today, and it's back with a flashy, high-tech vibe as part of cryotherapy. But you know what? The core concept is exactly the same. So, what's the big deal? Why are so many people willing to freeze themselves on purpose? Let's break down the huge promises that have everyone taking the plunge. And the claims are, let's be honest, pretty incredible. For anyone who works out, it's all about bouncing back way faster with a lot less muscle pain. Then there's the mental side, the promise of cutting through brain fog for laser-sharp focus and a better mood. And on top of all that, we hear about things like deeper sleep and a supercharged immune system. It's a really compelling list. All right, now for the main event, the physiology. When that freezing water hits your skin, what is actually going on inside your body? Let's peel back the layers and look at the real biological response. Let's kick things off with the #1 reason you see ice baths in pretty much every locker room: faster recovery. The whole idea is that a cold plunge can help your body repair itself in record time. So, to get how this works, you have to know what happens when you train hard. You're basically creating these tiny, microscopic tears in your muscles. Your body then rushes in to fix them, and that whole repair process creates inflammation, which is exactly why you feel so sore the next day. So how does the cold help with that? Well, that intense cold makes your blood vessels constrict, or tighten up. A great way to picture it is like squeezing out a sponge. This constriction is thought to dial down that initial inflammatory response and maybe help flush out some of the waste products from your muscles. And that could be why people say they feel less sore. But it's not just about the muscles. A whole lot of people talk about this incredible mental boost after a plunge, this feeling of like euphoria and total clarity. So what's happening in the brain to make that happen? It really comes down to the super powerful chemical called norepinephrine. Think of it as your brain's natural wake up and pay attention signal. It's a huge part of your fight or flight response, and when it gets released, you become super alert, focused, and it can give your mood a serious lift. That insane shock of the cold is a massive jolt to your system, and your brain responds by flooding your body with norepinephrine. That huge chemical surge is what's behind that post-plunge high, that feeling of being incredibly awake, energized, and totally clear-headed. Okay, but this is where the story gets really interesting. Because your body's response to cold, it's kind of a double-edged sword. What helps you in one way might actually hold you back in another. Welcome to the physiological paradox of the cold plunge. This brings us to a really important question. We're always told that inflammation is the bad guy, right? Something we need to get rid of. But what if it's not that simple, especially when it comes to getting stronger? And here it is, the big trade-off. While calming down inflammation might make you feel better tomorrow, that inflammation is also a critical signal for your muscles to adapt and grow. Think of it like the foreman on a construction site yelling, "Hey, we need the repair crew over here stat." Some research suggests that if your main goal is building muscle, using cold plunges all the time might actually quiet down that signal, getting in the way of your gain. So why don't we have a clear final answer on all this? Well, a huge part of it is that the research is still pretty new. A lot of the studies are tiny. They often only look at elite male athletes, and we just don't have enough of those big gold standard studies to make any definite claims. And what that means is you get mixed results that are hard to apply to everybody. So, after going through all that, what can we say for sure? Let's pull everything together and look at what the current scientific verdict is on all these big claims. This table really breaks it down. For muscle soreness, the evidence is moderately strong. It seems to help, but it might not be any better than, say, going for a light walk. For boosting your mood, that immediate chemical rush is totally real, but we have no idea if it leads to any long-term benefits. And for things like sleep and your immune system, the science is really just getting started. There are some interesting hints, but we are a long way from a solid answer. And this is a point we absolutely cannot stress enough. A cold plunge is not like taking a nice, relaxing bath. It is a massive shock to your entire system, and your body treats it like a legitimate threat. That shock causes your heart rate and your blood pressure to spike. And I mean spike hard. Now, for a healthy person, that might be okay, but for anyone with a pre-existing heart condition, it could be genuinely dangerous. And this is exactly why understanding the physiological risks versus the rewards is so important. Which brings us all the way back to the big question: is the shock worth it? As you can see, the science gives us a really complex picture. There are some real documented short-term benefits, but there are also potential drawbacks and very real safety risks to consider. So the answer isn't a simple yes or no. It really depends on your goals, your health, and whether you're ready to embrace that cold. The real question is, what are you going to do with that information?